$600,000.
But that's unreal. Good morning and welcome to Today in L.A. I'm Mike Amos. He's Bill Rice Jr. and from Zoom Television, live from Grayton Beach, Florida. Mike Amos. Good morning, son.
Morning. How are y'all?
And of course, a lot going on a Thursday. What is that? The 22nd day of July or 23rd? What is it?
22nd.
23rd.
23rd.
Oh, our date's wrong on the
So
screen.
yeah, exactly. I don't even know what day it is, but it is.
Now they've changed it.
It is a day in America to be free and be able to go about doing whatever we want to do and pretty much saying whatever we want to say. Of course, Major League Baseball is the main topic today, Mike. They're going to play a 60-game schedule. How will that work?
Well, basically, they're just going to play 60 games, and then they're going to expand the playoffs. I don't know how many extra teams can get in, but the really unique thing is they're going to have a designated hitter for both leagues. So the National League, who always has a pitcher hit, that'll be a lot more offense, you would think. So it starts tonight with the Yankees and the Nationals, and I think there's a game out west as well.
Hey, did we find out if the Garrett player made the team?
I'll have to look and see their opening day roster. That's a good point. Talking about Levi Garrett's son.
Levi Garrett's son, that it was in the training camp. And I also wonder, that in baseball they're constantly calling up people from the minors and sending them down, but there is no minors this year, so I wonder how they're going to do that.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah, they've got to have a certain amount of guys ready to go. I think they're going to be based out of Florida, on the 60-man roster. So
are they going to have a
interesting to
schedule?
see.
Will those guys have a schedule to go by, or how will they do it?
I don't know. I guess they'll just constantly be training.
It'll just be baseball without television, won't it?
No, it'll be television.
I mean, for the minor leagues.
Oh, well, the minor leagues, there's not a minor leagues this year. There's just, an extra 60
So they're just
roster.
they're not even.
They're just practicing, I guess, getting ready to get called up.
I guess it'll be like the NFL where they have a practice roster and they don't play in the games, but they're so I bet they do that.
Wearing my face mask, and I feel sort of empty without it. In fact, I caught myself yesterday walking out without it, and I said, man, where's my Facebook? And we do recommend that when you're outside your living quarters to wear a mask if you're going to the drugstore or to the grocery store, the post office, or wherever. Wear your face mask. How about if you went to the park, Mike? Should you wear a face mask?
I would not wear one at a park. Outside, I feel pretty confident about not wearing one.
You do. How about you, Ryan?
When I go to the beach, I've never seen one person with a mask on.
I would feel confident outside. I mean, you would still socially distance and not get up in anybody's face, but I don't think that. I think you'd be safe outside.
I will say down here right now, I mean, I say it all the time how packed it is, but my wife and I saw at least 6 or 7 different groups from over 15 people walking by our house yesterday down here.
Okay, so
I mean, that's how many people are down here right now. And then you throw in the golf carts.
If they don't go adhere to these written requirements.
We were at Rosemary Beach yesterday, which is a lot of Nashville crowd, and then we went into Seacrest. I was riding around and we're hitting some restaurants and doing some tastings, and I couldn't believe how many people were down there. It took me 25 minutes to find a parking spot.
Down at Seagrove.
No, well, this is Rosemary.
Oh, Rosemary, excuse me.
Name
Rosemary.
all the beaches of 38. I bet you can do it real fast. There's about 8 of them, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, you got Rosemary. That kind of starts right when you go over the line from Bay County to Walton County. You got Inland Beach. And after Inland Beach, you got Rosemary Beach, which is huge, and just $1 million houses everywhere. And then you got Seacrest. And then you got Alice, which is a beautiful place where my wife works. looks like kind of Greece, all the white, beautiful buildings.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Then after that, you got a place called Water Sound Origins. I got friends that live there. And then after that, you got the original Seagrove Beach. And then you've got Seaside. Of course, that's, famous for the Truman Show, the Jim Carrey movie. Anybody ever watched that? And then after Seaside, you got Watercolor. And then over the water, you've got Grayton Beach, where I am. Mm-hmm. And then on Grayton Beach, you got Blue Mountain Beach. Then you got a beach called Dune Allen. And then you've got just old Santa Rosa Beach.
Boy, you know that place pretty well, don't you?
I did a story on those beaches when I was at the Montgomery Independent. And the folks from Walton County and the beaches of 38, they put me up for free, if I gave them some good press. And I got a tour of a lot of those places. So that was a good journalism junket right there.
Yeah. Of course, we got a lot going on today. Yesterday we talked about Troy University's athletic director going on TV or actually on their program. They've got a little program there. And he was talking about that they're looking at 12 games, and 6 games at home. If they could pull that off, that'd be the coup of all coups.
I don't see it happening.
But it's really, as far as the home games, if there's nobody allowed in the stadium, it's really not going to make any difference to our economy. Because we can't go, or maybe they'll let 30% of the people go.
Is that right? Mike?
I did see some traction for the Troy-Auburn game on WarEagle.com. There's a really good article written. Can't remember the guy's name, but he basically said this is the time for Troy and Auburn to play.
Wouldn't that be something? Can you read into that any? Do you have much of that?
I can find the article.
This was an Auburn person that wrote this?
Yeah, it's an Auburn. It's called WarEagle.com. So
I went back
basically explaining if they were ever going to play, and then it went into the connections with Malzahn and Chip Lindsey, and then Pugh. Ron Pugh, the offensive line coach, was an All-American at Auburn, won the national championship in 2010. Just talking about, the connections would be there as well. So who knows? Who knows what will happen? But I'll tell you what, if that game's played and people can't go, can you imagine? Yeah. Mike Amos, my dad, I would love for my dad to see that game more than anything in this world. It would break my heart if they played and he couldn't see it.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you this. I'd be happy to just watch it on TV if we could play them. I just want to play them one day.
I don't know. We might have enough connections. We might could probably get you in a box somewhere with a mask on.
Well, it's a lot going on. In fact, this weekend, let's see, we were looking at the 23rd today. Next weekend is the official start of college football. Most everybody reports on August 1st, don't they?
It used to be that way, yeah.
Actually goes on the field on August 1st.
Yeah, boy, I used to dread that.
They're already practicing a little bit and already meeting with the coaches.
I don't know if they can actually meet with the team right now.
No, they can. They're officially in.
They are officially in.
Yeah, they're not on the field, but they can actually meet with coaches and actually.
Well, I knew that, but
position coaches right now. They gave them an extra 6 weeks this year.
Yeah. Well, that is something, and ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about.
Yeah, Houston was out of Haskell yesterday too. Did y'all hear what Haskell? Steve Savarese has said they're going to start on schedule.
Oh man, isn't that something?
So they plan on playing in Alabama.
I heard they. I hope everybody that does something will make or at least get some kind of something that the player could actually get some kind of a letter saying I'm not going to hold this school responsible.
Yeah, they probably will, a waiver.
They've got to have some kind of deal there before they go on off. We'll have more.
I wonder about have they made a decision on attendance at high school games? Are they going to? I guess they're going to let fans go to the games, or did they?
I don't know. I hadn't heard anything about attendance.
It'd be weird to have high school games with no fans.
Yeah. But I tell you what, I've been thinking about it, especially at the college level and even at the pro level, is as long as you've got a game, you've got television, you can have bands in the stands, but not on the field, and they have to be 6 feet apart, which we could easily do, and all these schools could do. So you could have a football team with the guys officiating the game, the coaching staff, and so forth, and the marching band sitting at one end of the stadium, 6 feet away from each other, and then have a giant scoreboard. I mean, a giant, like we have at Troy, or giant television screen somewhere, either at home or outside the stadium. All I'm for is us having the game. I don't really care whether the fans are at the game or not. I just want the game to be played, and I'm be able to watch it on television or whatever. And,
I mean, you're talking about right now for selling advertising. If you were still doing the Troy Centerson football games, Troy Cable should have more views than ever this year. If you're not allowed to go to the games.
Yeah.
And basically you're going to be able to, only way you can watch your kid or your grandkid play. I mean, advertising right now for these games should be through the roof for anybody, because I mean the exposures can be more people watching these games than ever on Troy Cable.
I agree.
You might need to come out. You might need to come out of retirement and go into the box again.
Well, it'll be the same with ESPN and CBS and all the networks. Their ratings will be. Now, I doubt we ain't going to have game day, are we? They're not going to.
Exactly. I was watching.
I wouldn't think so. I can't wait to see what the ratings are for baseball tonight. I bet you they're going to be insane.
All right,
you also got the Dodgers and the Giants out west tonight too.
The New York Yankees against the Washington Nationals. That game is at what time?
5 o'clock Eastern.
5 o'clock Eastern, which would be 4 o'clock our time. So that game starts. Where that game going to be played, Mike?
I think it's in Washington. I think Falke, our favorite Dr. Falke's throwing out the first pitch.
Oh, is he? Okay, that little guy. You reckon how big? He probably weighs 130 pounds.
Oh, they're playing them at all the state. I thought they were in like spring training camps where they're going to play all the games. No, they're playing them at the regular stadiums.
I'm wondering,
they're playing them in the regular stadiums.
Yeah. Will they require the face mask at the game? That would be very interesting to me.
The players that are not playing and the coaches that are not playing are wearing masks.
Will the umpires that are umpiring the game, will they wear a mask?
They are. Well, the home plate umpire already wears the mask, but I would imagine they'll wear a mask out in the field.
He needs to wear one more.
So Yankees Nationals 5 o'clock Central Time.
All right, 5 o'clock Central Time. All right, that'll be in time for everybody to get off work and see Major League Baseball. And this is going to go on for how many months?
On these 60 games, you would think it would start late July, would probably end in late September, just in time for October baseball.
Yeah. I was wondering how they came up with 60 games because.
Well, I mean, you would think that they would play probably about 4 days, have a day off type situation. I mean, you'd have to give them some days off.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get rich. I have found a way to put a little hole in my face mask and put a straw in it, and I can drink my drink through my face mask. What do you think? But instead of having to do this right here.
That virus is getting out of that little hole, though.
I've already seen that.
I don't think that's the way to go, but I would think they'll be coming up with it. I saw a mask yesterday over at the athletic department, and it had Troy across it, good looking. It was in Troy colors, and I was told that Walmart's going to be soon selling face masks with your favorite college team on it. I knew it would happen before long.
That's already happened, yeah.
And when they go to the games, I can see red and white Alabama face masks and whoever they're playing, their face masks across the way. And sell those face masks at the game. That'd be a money maker. Sell them for $10 a piece.
Some people are making political statements like they have face masks on. They've written on there the word "obey."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. And I love Jesus. Whatever you want to put on that, and make a statement, I would appreciate it. Big Koenig made a statement yesterday. He has left the University of South Carolina. Left West Virginia on some terms that we're not going to get into, but he is gone as the defensive coordinator at West Virginia. I tell you what, you're talking about one good football coach. All you got to do is look at his record, where he's been and what he's done. And I've known him a long time. and he's I remember when he came back this last time, Mike. He came running down the hallway and gave me a big hug, and he said, "Man, I have missed you. I've missed you, and it's great to be." You know what he said? Be back home. He loved Troy, and of course he was here 2 different stints, and it wouldn't bother me if he came back. Because
both times it was the difference pre-coning, post-coning was stark. I mean, he made a big difference on that defense in a hurry, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Neil Brown. I mean, of course, he didn't want this move to happen. It was kind of forced out.
They didn't want it to happen.
The way it happened, Neil Brown, I think, tried to save him as long as he could, because this went on for like a month and a half after this initially came out. And I tell you what, he won Neil Brown a lot of football games in Troy. If you look back, Neil Brown's offense wasn't as great as people made it out to be in a lot of games. I mean, Neil's a good offensive coach, don't get me wrong.
And he's a good man.
Big Coney saved him several times, and I guarantee you, Neil Brown is sick to lose Big Coney this close to the season.
I just hope that he's 60 years old, and I hope that he'll find another place to coach, because he's too good a football coach and too good a man. This guy's a heck of a guy, no question about it.
Yeah, I mean, one player, I guarantee if you went out today and you interviewed all these guys he's coached in 32 years of football, and one player is going to get him fired and possibly end his career, it's sad. It's really sad if you look at it that way.
You got to be this day and time. You got to be very careful what you say and when you say it, whatever. And,
you can't get into politics. You can't be insensitive. You can't.
Are y'all kind of nervous? Are y'all nervous about this trend? I am. I'm not going to talk about it. It'll make Mike nervous.
Everybody's called me yesterday about it. I mean, it's scary.
In fact, I'm not going to say another thing about it, because I want everything to go well. I want everybody to love each other and care about each other. And I hate to see a man lose part of his career, by saying the wrong thing.
Hey, you're mumbling in that face mask, man. I can't hear you as well. Can you take that mask off?
I need to take my mask off, don't I? But of course, if you're wearing your mask today, you're doing right. And of course, I noticed at Walmart yesterday, everybody in that store had a mask on.
Well, they don't let you in if you don't have a mask on.
And same way across the street. And I tell you, you know what? Ball is great. Ball is great. Ball is great. But life is more greater. Life is more greater, and we're very conscious of the cases of the virus. In fact, Troy Regional Medical Center had more than 100 over 100 people per day have tested
positive.
Well, I don't know if they've.
They're doing 100 tests. They're doing 100 tests.
Yeah, yesterday the trend had been going down a little bit as far as numbers nationally, but man, yesterday was awful. It was like 70,000 new cases, and then 1.1. What was it? 1,100 deaths.
Do y'all think everybody in Alabama is now wearing the mask pretty much everywhere they go if they go out their house? Yeah. You think in 3 weeks the case numbers are going to drop off the cliff because of this?
You hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. Somebody knows something, because how positive can our athletic department here at Troy be about 12 games? I was just hoping and praying we could at least play 8 games, or if you could play 10, you had really done something. Mm-hmm. But we're hearing talk of a 12-game schedule. And Mike, like you said, there's talk at Auburn, there's talk at BYU. Hey, I'd play BYU in Provo tomorrow if they'd play us. What do you think?
Well, the only game I think Troy for sure is not going to play, I don't think they're going to go all the way up to UMass. I don't see that happening.
So either. And,
I think that game is probably going to be off the board. Troy is very fortunate, though, and I was trying to say that to Max yesterday. I mean, Conference USA has got so many teams that are close that Troy can drive and play. I mean, you got South Alabama. I mean, not South Alabama. You got UAB. You got Southern Miss. You got Louisiana Tech. You could go up to Murfreesboro and play Middle Tennessee. You got Western Kentucky. I mean, you could play some of the Florida schools, Florida Atlantic, Florida International,
Florida A&M.
Tell me, Mike, you answered this question one time. What's the key about the short distance trips? I mean, it seems to me that if you got the coronavirus on a bus, it doesn't matter if you got a 2-hour bus trip or a 7-hour bus trip. I mean,
my big thing though is that if they're trying to stay away from flying, there is games that you could drive and
I
fly.
got to stay out of airports and stay out of airplanes.
I mean, most of these jets, they're basically private planes to the universities.
They're chartered.
So they don't go through the airports or anything like that.
This show is not a show that promotes gambling, but I will say this: the bookies out there have been killed. I mean, they have had a hard time the last 6 months now. How many months has it been?
Yeah.
Or
Well, I mean, the casinos closed down in Mississippi for months.
All the casinos cut.
And then Vegas closed down. You never thought you'd ever see Vegas closed down.
Well, now they've got baseball. I don't even understand how baseball betting goes. I don't even understand how
Pete Rose
But
it's lines and it's also over unders. I mean, it's all kinds of stuff.
But you can't just pick up something and say, I say that the Yankees will beat Washington. It's not like that. It's
it's like a money line. You get
it's like if the Yankees are a heavy favorite.
If you risk to bet on the Yankees, you got to risk $130 to win $100.
Yeah, that's right.
Like that, yeah.
So if you lose, you pay $130.
It's not straight up odds.
Yeah. But at the same time, it brings a lot of believe it or not. I hate to say this, it enhances the economy. This is not anything that people want to write a book about, but
so you got Cole against Matt Scherzer tonight.
Why now?
Garrett Cole's the top pitcher in baseball, and he's going against Matt Scherzer, who's one of the top pitchers in baseball. So the over/under tonight is 7.5. So that means if you go under, and the game's 4-3, the Yankees win.
Total runs, like if it's a 4-3 game, you win. Is that right?
Yeah, and then the Yankees are -1.5, so they would have to win by 2 for you to win. And then of course Washington's +1.5. So that's what your lines are on the games to start.
But straight up, what did you say it would be?
-1.5. Does that mean that if you bet on the Nationals and you bet $10, you win $15?
Yeah, it's +125, -1.5.
Yeah.
Plus -1.5, +25 for New York.
Now, who did you say the pitchers were?
The best 2 pitchers in baseball: Garrett Cole, Matt Scherzer.
Derek who?
Garrett Cole.
Combs. Why do you spell that name?
Cole, Cole.
See, we don't even know the best pitcher in baseball.
I used to could tell you.
He won the Cy Young.
Mike, you're like me. I bet you I couldn't name 10 Major League Baseball
that's
players.
with the Yankees, and who's the pitcher?
Like tonight for the Dodgers, you got Kershaw going. You know who Kershaw is?
I know Kershaw, yeah.
Yeah.
And they playing that Chavez Ravine?
Yeah.
That's Dodger Stadium, Chavez Ravine. And that's a little, just one turn off the interstate in Los Angeles. Isn't that right?
You can tell your famous Brian Meadows story that you were in Los Angeles and Brian Meadows got you into a game at Dodger Stadium.
I was out there with my dear friend Johnny Williams. We were out there for a meeting, and at least he had a meeting, and I stayed at listen to this. I was staying in downtown Hollywood at the same place they have the Oscars. And I was sitting there eating breakfast, and Johnny had gone to play golf at some kind of celebrity golf tournament. And I was sitting there with nothing to do. And it seemed like the day before I went to the movie, what is it? The movie, it was a theme park.
Wax Museum or something?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And I went to that. Next day I said, well, gosh, what am I going to do today? And then I looked down and saw the Pittsburgh Pirates were playing the Los Angeles Dodgers at 2 o'clock. I said, gosh, that's where Brian Meadows is. And so I picked up the phone and called Michael, and he called Brian through some other way, or another friend through something. 2 or 3 phone calls later, I've got seats right behind the dugout.
God.
And you were sitting right next to his wife, weren't you?
Right there next to his wife, and it actually right behind the home plate. It was an excellent seat.
Oh, that's good.
And after the game, I was able to go down to his bullpen, and that bullpen. People wonder what goes on in that bullpen. Well, every now and then they'll tell it's according to how good the pitchers are. But if let's just say they're in the middle of the 5th inning and they need to get somebody ready. so they'll make a guy stand up. I asked Brian at the ball game, I said, how often do they tell you to get up and start throwing? He said, well, as far as the game goes, I'm a 6-inning, 7-inning guy, and sort of a setup guy, what they call it. And but other than that, they just sit around and watch videos and whatever. They do all kinds of stuff.
I bet they have some great conversations. Yeah.
He always told me they talked a lot about college football.
Yeah. But boy, what a great career and fun career Brian Meadows made for all of us. I can remember being in Baltimore on the 4th of July. Went over to see the fireworks, the 4th of July, and went through all the museums and all that. And that night, the Baltimore Orioles were playing. Gosh, I'm trying to remember.
They're playing the Marlins.
Yeah, they're playing the Marlins, and there was a huge line for the game of kids trying to get autographs and everything. So we were way back there, and I said, Brian Meadows, it's me, Mike Amos. Don't you remember me? I used to coach against you in Little League Baseball. He goes running back toward the dugout and comes out with 2 baseballs, one to give to Johnny Williams, his boys. Signed signature. I mean, some of those kids been waiting an hour to get an autograph.
He's great. I covered some of his games as a reporter, and he was just so accommodating and so classy. Let me tell you one of my favorite Brian Meadows stories. Mr. Murphy flew Andy and I down on his plane to see Brian pitch his first major league game in Miami.
Oh gosh.
So that's the only time I've been to South Beach, the night before the game. But we go hours before the game and watch him out in the field in warm-ups. And the big star player the Marlins had then was Bobby Bonilla. Remember he played with Barry Bonds with the Pirates.
I went out with Bobby Bonilla one night.
Oh, wait a minute! You better correct that now. You said he
seemed to be real nice to Brian. I interviewed him for a couple minutes. But anyways, Cigar Aficionado magazine was doing a feature story on Bobby Bonilla. And I saw their photographer. He was taking a lot of pictures of him in warm-ups on the field where we were. They let you on the field. And didn't think anything about it. And then months later, I'm at Pete's package store. And Pete Jordan says, have you seen this? And it's the issue that Bobby Bonilla was in. But not only that, there's a big full-page picture of Bobby Bonilla with a bat in the batting cage, acting like he's getting ready to hit. And then right behind him in that picture is Bill Rice and Andy Murphy. So I am in Cigar Aficionado magazine because of Brian Meadows.
Yeah, exactly. I can remember going to spring training. We used to like to go down there, and we knew a few people that could help us move around a little bit when we were down there. And I turned around one time, and the guy standing behind me was Frank Sadler. He was down there watching baseball. You're liable to see anybody in spring training. And
well, here's another Brian. The other game I went to was when Brian pitched against Atlanta one time, or played against Atlanta. So I got to go in the Atlanta clubhouse, and that was cool. I was on the field before the game taking pictures. There's a little place they let photographers. You just right by the dugout go take pictures. And I'm walking across the Atlanta Braves dugout to go to my little cubby hole where I got to take pictures, and I hear somebody say, Bill Rice, and it was Sam Drake, who lived in Atlanta. He was right behind the dugout.
Well, let me tell you this, and we've said it over and over, and of course we repeat ourselves a lot on this show, but I wouldn't repeat it if it wasn't something that was interesting. Brian Meadows is one of the most humble sports celebrities in our area. He's one of the most humble people I've ever known. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was no different being in that ballpark in Baltimore or Atlanta. I remember when he went 10 innings against Atlanta. I never been so. I was shaking like a leaf, through those last innings. He went up against a Hall of Famer, Mike, straight up, and shut him out for 10 innings. Isn't that right?
Yeah, he went up against Maddox or Glavine or one of them. I can't remember.
I want to say Maddox. I think it might have been.
That was a game. That was a game in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, he did so many things, and he's walking around over the rec department, and you wouldn't know if you didn't ask him if he was a former Major League ball player. But he is the epitome, if that's a good word.
That's a good word, Mike.
He is the epitome of what a Major League pitcher looks like. 6'5", and weighed about 220 or 225. But that's about the size of a Major League pitcher.
You know, we're talking about this kid from Pike Liberal Arts that's getting all this buzz.
Yeah.
The scouts can find him. They knew about Brian Meadows when he was 15 and 16 years old.
Yeah. Well, Drake was pretty much the same way. A lot of scouts, but I've seen as many as 20 scouts at a Charles Simpson baseball game, sitting down there having a big time. Scouts have a big time. Coach Riddle proved all of that. But
I didn't realize Drake.
Watch a young man from over there on Butternegg Road pitch.
Yeah,
didn't you say Drake was not even 6 foot, Bill?
He's probably about exactly 6 feet.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, man, Sam Drake looked like a giant to me.
He was real built. He was heavy, but he wasn't super tall, but he wasn't short, but he was powerfully built and bigger. He was bigger, weighed more, and was thicker than most people.
And I'll tell you something about Sam Drake.
He could throw that fastball by you.
Sam Drake was pretty, man. I mean, he's about as pretty as you can get. But the great thing about Sam Drake was his daddy, Basil Drake. Basil Drake was one of the great people that ever lived here in Troy, Alabama. And they came here from Illinois. Of course, they're originally from somewhere over in the Selma area, somewhere over there. But he sold insurance, and they lived up around Chicago for years. And then he got an opportunity to come to Troy with Liberty National, and he worked here for several years.
He was the branch manager, right?
But let me tell you this, you watch him and how he handles Sam, another thing, he was a very humble individual himself, Basil Drake was. If you didn't know Basil Drake, the key word to Basil Drake was glory. That's how he would meet you on the street. And what I'm saying, there was no question that you knew where he stood with the Lord. He constantly was a great role model.
Sam is fun. Sam is one of Bobby's best friends, and graduated from high school with Bobby, my little brother. And he's very funny. He's got a great singing voice, but he can do imitations like of Skip Carey. He does a great Skip Carey imitation. He does a great Chewbacca imitation from Star Wars. And he'll just randomly break out into the LSU. What's the LSU fight song? Hold that tiger.
Bum, 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 bum.
I've been on trips to college football games, and we're just chilling out, and then out of nowhere, Sam will just go out, hold that tiger. Just out of random.
Yeah, exactly.
He makes you laugh.
Pettit jumps, looks, shoots good as the Busch Bavarian beer at your favorite grocery market. I'm Harry Carey.
Sam struck out Dale Murphy one time when he pitched for Georgia Tech, and they played an exhibition game against the Braves.
Yeah. Dale Murphy was one of the
Dale Murphy struck out about 150 times a year, though.
No bigger than that.
And the thing about him, he swung mostly with his arms. He had a wide stance.
Yeah, he was strong.
Was not one of those guys that would rear back, but he would just get enough bat speed and hit a lot of home runs. He played in a good stadium. He probably wouldn't have hit near the home run if he hadn't played Atlanta Stadium. Atlanta Stadium.
The biggest thing about Dale Murphy is he was the MVP, I think, maybe twice. He played for Torrey, and he hit 398 home runs. I always was, shocked because I had all his baseball cards. I was like, why in the world did he not try to hit 2 more home runs?
Yeah.
At least 400.
He had to make the Hall of Fame, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of fans out there that are upset about that. You see people putting stuff on Facebook all the time.
Milo Hamilton, the great announcer Milo Hamilton. Back I used to live over in Atlanta, and in fact, right when Atlanta first the Braves came to Atlanta from Milwaukee, and they had a player named Rico Cardi, and he would say, "Here is the guy with the biggest smile in Atlanta, Rico Cardi." And the fans would go crazy over this guy. He was there and of course, Atlanta wasn't very good at that time, but they got better. I went over.
Yeah, Dad saw an early Michael Jordan against Dominic Wilkins.
Oh yeah, sure did. Just me and
Bulls
them
playing the
almost.
Hawks.
Yeah, what two great
There was
players.
probably 1,000 people at the game, and I was sitting right behind the Chicago.
Let me tell you, Mike, tell me if this is your impression too. When you see
Yeah.
these great basketball players up close, it's different, isn't it? I mean, when you see how fast they move up and down that court. I remember when Troy played Auburn the first time in basketball. It was a big deal. Troy going to play Auburn, and it was Auburn won by about 30 points, and 150 to 120.
Yeah, but now
The thing that struck me though was just I watched a ton of Troy University basketball, but very little SEC basketball, and then just the Auburn players, how quick they got, fast they got up and down.
See, they
the court.
loved it when Troy came to town, and of course Troy was a high scoring team. That wasn't the first time they had played them. They played them years, several times over the years. But they were playing in Auburn, and let me tell you what we did. And it was a local bank here. I'm not going to give the name of it, but they had a branch bank over in Auburn. They rented a bus here in Troy. About 30 or 40 of us went over there. They fed us at the bank.
A party bus.
And then, and then that's right. And then they bussed us over to the game. And like you said, I think Auburn scored 140-something points. Troy scored 127 points. I mean, but that was exactly the way Auburn players wanted to play, up and down, up and down. That's what, of course, when they started playing in the SEC, they wanted to slow it down. But to put Auburn in that kind of setting, it was not fair to Troy.
I remember the one Auburn,
athletes
they
were
had
so good.
Wesley Person was on that team from Brantley, and I think Coach Eagles was Auburn's coach then.
Yeah, and he died.
Yeah, Tommy Joe Eagles.
And he was a great young coach that just woke up, and just died one morning.
I didn't know he died.
It surprised everybody. Tommy Joe Eagles.
Troy's never played Auburn in the new arena. I've been over there for several Auburn games in Alabama,
right,
but Troy's never played in the new. They always played in Beard Eves. But amazing, Beard Eves is still on campus. They never gave it the wrecking ball.
Oh gosh, and it's such a fine, beautiful.
I wonder what they
structure.
use it for. I guess they got some purpose.
Classes and all kinds of different events, I guess.
And I will tell you, I'm going to take my mask off since we're indoors right now. But I do want you to wear your mask and be conscious of wearing your mask all day. But when Auburn built there, I'm going to tell you the big difference. Alabama built Coleman Coliseum, which holds 15,400 people to watch a basketball game, strictly to watch a basketball game. Memorial Coliseum in Auburn had an indoor track.
Yeah.
See, they didn't have near the capacity.
You're calling not Memorial, but Beard Eves.
Beard Eves, excuse me, I'm sorry. Beard Eves, named after Snow White and the Seven Dwarf, and Eves was a great coach. But they had an indoor track which was not as conducive for basketball, to watch basketball. So for all those years, even today, Alabama's got they can seat 15,400 and have a great view of a basketball game. But Auburn during those times, I think in fact they reduced their seating to 9,000 or 10,000 at that stadium. But on a good night, they would hold 12 or 13,000.
Yeah.
But now they're right on the court. I mean, that new arena,
right.
it only holds 9,000, I think 600. But man, it is packed. They sell out every basketball
That
game.
paid off. The first couple of years it didn't, because Auburn didn't have a good program. But now, man, you're right. Auburn has one of the best atmospheres of the college basketball game in the country.
Of course, Troy has a beautiful facility, but I can remember this so well. Don Maestri was one of the people that helped design the new facility of the Trojan Arena, and it is a beautiful place. But they said, well, let's seat 5,000, 5,500, or 6,000, whatever, for basketball games. That's as many people that's going to come to a ball game. But they have found now that they probably should have made it a little bit bigger, because they can't get all the graduation in one facility, indoors, It
is.
So right now they can seat 6,000 if you included the seats on the floor.
I wonder if all the former old coaches, Felix, Maestri, Blakeney, I wonder if all those old coaches were in town yesterday for that funeral.
It was a lot of folks there. It was very impressive. It really was.
Maestri is a guy that, I still I baffle at him and Felix what they were able to do at Troy in that little high school gym, Sartain Hall. the amount of talent they were able to bring in. I guess it was Felix that was the majority of.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he was the big recruiter, I guess, of the two. But I mean, I look back on those teams I grew up watching. It was amazing the talent they had on the floor.
Yeah.
I enjoyed covering Troy University basketball more than anything in the heyday of Maestri and Felix.
Oh, it was fun to
late
watch.
80s, early 90s,
you're right.
South Conference days.
No question about it. And
I mean, I would be at school. I'd be at school with my friends, and we'd already be making airplanes early in the morning, getting ready to throw airplanes out to the court that night.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, I will say, I think we got Troy a technical foul one time. It was me or a buddy. We threw one from the very top of Sartain. That's where we'd hang out the whole time. And somehow it made it on the court during the middle of the game.
Some people knew how to make
and Maestri got on the microphone screaming and hollering.
Yeah.
About the airplane.
Yeah, some people knew how to make them better than anything.
I've forgotten how to make them. Show me how to do it.
I don't know. I'm just folding the piece
My
of
little
paper.
4-year-old son Jack is into paper airplanes now, and I can make them, but they don't fly as good as I used to know how to make them.
I mean, we can literally, like, there's a couple guys that can make them that they could easily fly onto the court.
Exactly.
But you were right.
They give away all kinds of prizes if you could get them, like in the rings, I guess is what they have, like certain prizes.
Can I tell my story about one of the promotions? They always had promotions. This is one of my great athletic stories. I was sports editor at the Messenger during the early 90s. And Tom Enzi was the sports information director, and he called me and said, Bill,
Boy, he was a good one.
Write a story about this halftime shooting contest we're going to have. So we'll get a lot of, you shoot a layup, a free throw, a three-point shot, and a half-court shot in 35 seconds. If you hit the half-court shot, you get $500. And I said, oh, heck yeah, I'll write the story. But then as a whim, I said, I'll really push it hard and write a column about it if y'all let me be one of the people that does it. So he called me back a couple minutes later and said, you're on, do it. So I wrote this column, say this is going to be so easy, I'm going to take this $500, I'm going to win a case of Pepsi, Pepsi sponsored it, no problem, I can do it. A funny, silly column. And then I started thinking about it, I said, oh my God, I got to go out there in front of all, I hadn't shot a basketball in a year. It was against Valdosta State. 2,300 people were in Sartain Hall, so I snuck away at lunch and got my basketball and went and shot some. And it was ugly, man. A lot of air balls. But after about 45 minutes, I got to where I could hit the rim or, So here it comes. The college kids, they picked some kid that didn't do good, and then I did it. Yeah. I made my layup. I missed my first free throw. Came right back to me, though. Swished my second free throw. Now I had my rhythm. Went back to the three-point line. Swished it, Mike.
Yeah.
I looked up on the clock. I had all kind of time before I had to shoot my half-court shot. I'd learned to even get the ball to the rim, I had to get a big running start.
Exactly.
So I went way back behind the half-court line, ran up, heaved that sucker, missed it, but at least it hit the backboard.
Yeah.
So it bounced back to me, and I said, my gosh, I'm going to have another chance to shoot a three-point shot. So I got the ball, rushed back, got my momentum, and this time I let it go, and I said, that is it. And right when the buzzer went off,
you can see it.
that ball went around the rim and came out.
Okay.
So that's my great sports moment.
Yeah. Out of all the giveaways I've seen at a ball game, and of course, I've seen a few half-court shots made and so forth, but
I think Drew Felix hit one
around here. Probably the most famous shot for a giveaway happened to be a friend of mine, David Sunday. They were playing in a 4-ball out at the Troy Country Club, and David Sunday was just an average golfer. Of course, he's the brother-in-law of Lyle and Lane Wise. they're brother-in-laws, and of course, that whole bunch play golf. But David Sunday got up and, like we said, this was a 4-ball this was the then number 8 hole at Troy
Little par 3
Club, and he hit a ball that went way to the right, and it hit a mimosa tree. You know what a mimosa tree is? It hit a mimosa tree. It ricocheted off that mimosa tree, and it rolled, I bet, 50 yards at least and went straight in the hole. And he won a $10,000. Well, it was $10,000, I think, or no, a car.
A car. I think the car was out there.
From Judson Colley at the Chevrolet place here in town. And I don't even know if they even had insurance on it, but it was just such a miraculous shot. And people still talk about that. And I think David went ahead and drove the car for a long time. I don't know if he.
The story out here is he just drove it off the course.
I think it was $10,000 or you get the car or something like that. And but that ball ricocheting. I mean, I'm talking about it was 50 yards to the right. I mean, it was a bad shot that hit. And again,
a squirrel threw it out.
And people were watching it from the tee and said, you know what, that ball might go in, and it rolled and it rolled and rolled, and sure enough, it fell in the hole.
I'll tell my hole-in-one story.
Hey, do y'all want to take a commercial break?
Yeah, we'll take one right now.
I got a hole-in-one story when we come back.
And of course, brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines right here in Troy, Alabama, and Express Oil Change. Also, Wells Fargo Advisors, my good friend Colin McCreary. We'll be back in just a moment.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi doorbell camera allows you to answer the door from your smartphone when you are at home, at work, or on the go. When a visitor presses the button, Troy Cable Security sends a live video feed to your smartphone so you can see, hear, and speak to the person at your door. With the doorbell camera, you can have your porch light turn on automatically when it detects motion at night to create the appearance that someone is at home. You can view video clips so you can always know who stopped by when you are out. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
We've been doing business the right way for 31 years, and now we've approached a year at the all-new Bill Jackson Ford. But don't take our word for it. We feel our customers express it the best.
I would recommend Bill Jackson to friends and family. Environment was just friendly.
It's a short drive from anywhere.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi doorbell camera allows you to answer the door from your smartphone when you are at home, at work, or on the go. When a visitor presses the button, Troy Cable Security sends a live video feed to your smartphone so you can see, hear, and speak to the person at your door. With the doorbell camera, you can have your porch light turn on automatically when it detects motion at night to create the appearance that someone is at home. You can view video clips so you can always know who stopped by when you are out. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
Here at Bill Jackson Chevrolet in Troy, we've been doing business the right way for 31 years. But don't take our word for it. We feel our customers express it the best.
Been honest in everything we've discussed with them.
When they say Jackson Satisfaction, they really mean it.
The Jackson Satisfaction.
Ladies and gentlemen, they are alive and well at Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep on the bypass right here in Troy, where nobody beats the Premier deal, nobody. And of course, I visited with Jason yesterday, and they're all back going 100% at Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep and Ram trucks on the bypass. They got a great selection to choose from. They're going at it with a tremendous sale going on right now at Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep. So if you're looking for a great vehicle to drive home today, I recommend Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep and Ram trucks. We appreciate all of our sponsors this morning. Ideal Graphics is they do a lot of work for me. When I need stationery, when I need envelopes, when I need
signs,
they can do it all.
For yard sales,
business cards. Dad got some business cards made one time for me when I was doing the show live for about a year on set, and I left a lot of those cards in Troy, I guess, over the years. And they have my number on them, so I get a lot of random calls all the time from Dad's friends leave me long messages to call him.
Exactly.
And I'll have to call Dad and relay the message.
Hope everybody's doing well this morning. Bird Drugs is alive and well. And I'll tell you right now, you can talk about biscuits, but I don't think there's a better biscuit anywhere than the biscuits you'll get at Bird Drugs today. There's sausage and biscuit, but if you tried their biscuits lately,
now I used to get the toast. Now I get the biscuits, and then I put the sausage in the biscuit and make myself a sausage.
And then
biscuit.
Put a little jelly on it. Makes it awfully good too. But I'll tell you what, breakfast today at Bird's is wonderful, and eggs, bacon, grits, ham, toast, jelly, sausage and biscuit. It is all delicious. And then of course for lunch, they've got that wonderful tuna salad and chicken salad sandwiches, and they've got, I think it's the best hamburger in town, no question about it. They give you a good thick
Real
piece
hamburger,
of ground
yeah.
beef, and it is really, really good.
I want to tell my hole-in-one story so we can, since
Okay,
I teased
we're
it.
laid back television at its very best.
You know how one story leads to another story. I'm playing with Rush and Charles Bradshaw at Trojan Oaks. I must be in college, and it's hole number 5, or it's the par 3 right by the road. It used to be the par 3, and you cross the road to go to the par 5.
Oh yeah, that was always the prettiest hole on that course to me.
And it was a 7-iron from the back tees, and we're hitting into the sun, and I probably shanked it into the woods, and then Rush hits, and I stand off to the side and kind of use my eyes, and he hits it, and it looks good off the tee, and Rush loses it. He says, I don't know where it went. But I think I see it hit the green, and I say, and it's rolling right towards the hole, and I swear that ball went in the hole. I said, Rush, I think that ball went in the hole. And he just laughed and no way. So we raced down the hill on the golf cart. I jump out while the cart's still running. The ball's not on the green. So I got a good idea where else could it be, and I ran, picked up the ball, and I looked and I said, what are you playing? He had hit a hole-in-one, but he didn't even get to see it go in the hole.
Oh boy! Well, not many people can claim they made a hole-in-one, and of course, when Will Matthews gets on the air and says that he's had 15, but he played a lot of golf over the years. But
yeah, I tell you what, I miss that golf course. As a kid growing up on Crow Hill, that was our ultimate playground. Was Trojan Oaks Golf Course. I mean, you couldn't find a day that we were not in those creeks, either finding golf balls or, when it did snow in Troy, we were on those hills sliding down. I mean, it was like a big playground for us. I'm sure golfers hated us out there because they're probably,
I tell you, you're exactly right.
always wanting us to get out of the way when we're running around out there.
I remember going over there when it snowed, and there was an old boat, a metal boat that they had in the pond over there, and a bunch of college students were sliding down the hill in this metal boat. Of course there was snow everywhere, and and I was watching them, and I said, now y'all be careful, and in a minute they start going down the hill. And they started heading, it was going a lot further than normal. It was going toward that little pond. And one guy bailed out, another guy bailed out, and there was one guy that went in the water. Buddy, and that was a cold, but I never laughed so hard because they were bailing out. Boy, they were bailing out.
A great place to sled. The other place people used to sled when it snowed was the bank at Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, that's right.
That was a steep one, yeah.
And now they've got a practice field, Mike, that even now you'd want to slide down. It is so steep, it's pitiful.
Yeah.
I saw Coach Bradshaw one time. He was prone to it. He'd watch the practices up there, and then, he would see something he didn't like, and he would go down there and talk to that player, get in his face. And I don't know if I saw it or if I've heard the story so many times, but he started going down that hill after a player, and then he just started tumbling. But nobody can laugh.
Yeah.
And he just got up and just kept going like nothing had happened.
The tower at Alabama, maybe the worst mistake in University of Alabama history was to hire Ray Perkins as their football coach. Ray Perkins, the first thing he did when he got to Alabama was to tear down the
iconic tower.
The tower that Coach Bryant went on. It should have been there for people to see up to this day, because how many times has your daddy, and of course he's been on this show, the late Bill Rice Sr., was on this show so many times telling stories about it. But every time Coach Bryant would get upset and come down from the tower, it was some kind of chain that would rattle real loud, and you can hear it. So wherever you were practicing on the field, if you heard that chain, he was on his way down. Well, Perkins, for some reason, thought that he needed to get rid of all that stuff, that this is the Ray Perkins era. Oh, that still, never smile, still lies, and all that. And he tore down what would have been a historical landmark today. Would have been that
I'll tell you,
coaches.
I'll tell you
tower.
one
I'm
funny.
sure they still have that somewhere.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think Curry might have reinstalled
But do you
it.
remember that happening? Do you
Yes,
remember that happening?
it was not good PR.
He
It
made
was-
some terrible mistakes.
Sorry, I just spilled tea everywhere on my desk.
He did build
Oh,
that.
brother.
He did build the new athletic field house and the indoor practice field. That
Perkins did.
Yeah, he was athletic director. People forget.
Yeah,
And so the facilities were not as good as you
Yeah.
would think when Perkins came.
You would think that Charlie Bradshaw and Ray Perkins would have been good friends because they were so much alike. They looked a lot alike, and they had that steel jaw like Coach.
I'll tell you a quick story about the tower that Dad used to tell. It was early August football practice, and one of Daddy's buddies, the players were just trying to make it through this practice session. He said, "Come on, guys, it won't be long now. It won't be long now. Just hang in there, to get to the end of practice." Coach Bryant heard him and did not like that one bit. Here comes that chain. Here comes Coach Bryant. Gets in that guy's face. "What did you say? What did you say?" And his name was Jerry Ingram. He thought real fast, and he said, "Coach, it won't be long till we play Georgia." Poor guy. He said, Coach Bryant even started laughing.
Probably one of the funniest stories your daddy used to tell about Coach Bryant was, Tennessee back in the early '60s and late '50s was the game. You played Tennessee. Of course, Georgia Tech was a big game, and Auburn was a big game. But this Tennessee rivalry was something. And traditionally, if Alabama won the game, Coach Bryant would hand out cigars. Can you believe that? Can you see this happening today?
Well, they still do it today.
It is still happening today.
That's why they do it.
I didn't know if they were still doing it, but one thing that was really funny was this joke. Back then everybody, a lot of kids smoked. It was a cool thing to do, terrible thing, but cool thing to do. And Coach Bryant was, they beat Tennessee, and he had got his cigar box and was walking down, handing them to each other. And they got this one fellow. I want to say his name was Bible. I can't remember the last name of this player. But when Coach Bryant offered him a cigarette, he reached over there and grabbed a pack of Pall Mall and said, "Coach, if it's all right with you, I'll smoke my own." And I don't think Coach Bryant did a thing about it, but he said when Coach Bryant offered him the cigar, he said, "Coach, if you don't mind, I'd like to smoke my own."
That's probably like a secondary infraction now by the NCAA.
They do it, and they take the fine every year.
They do it every year.
They kept that tradition alive, and not only that.
The thing is, they light it up, don't they? They light it up.
Well,
and smoke
after Alabama beats Tennessee, go on Facebook, and you are going to see 1,000 Alabama fans posting their pictures of them in their backyard patio, wherever they are, with their stogie in their mouth.
And from Shields, Watkins.
I mean, how would you like to be an Alabama player? I think about this all the time. Bryant guys are loved. I mean, there's guys, if you play for Bryant, like your dad, I mean, that's instantly somebody's going to want to hear Bryant stories. And, same thing with these Saban guys now. I mean, if you played for Saban, you're a legendary player. I mean, everybody wants to hear Saban stories. I feel bad for all these guys that had to play. I mean, Stallings, I guess, would be the same way. Stallings was kind of like a young Bear Bryant. But other than that, if you play for Perkins, Curry, Dubo, Shula, Franchione, I mean, those guys, they're not even talked about anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, the only guy that maybe gets talked about a little bit is Sean Alexander and Derek Thomas. That's about it.
Yeah.
Cornelius Griffin.
Yeah, Cornelius Bennett, I guess, would be in that group for sure, too.
I can tell you some Biscuit stories from, he was at Alabama when I was. Yeah. He had a good time when he let his hair down.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the best pictures I've ever seen is in Galette's. They used to have it. It was Mike Shula, Derek Thomas, Cornelius Bennett, and Howard Cross, all hugging each other at the bar. And that's one of my favorite Alabama pictures.
Howard Cross has become ultra successful businessman, I think.
So he was from New Hope, Alabama.
They played the pros for I think 14, 15 years.
Yeah, Dad used to call him Hands of Stone. He couldn't catch the ball, but boy, he could block. I mean, Bobby Humphrey and those people would get all those yards. Who were they running behind those sweeps?
But all of these Alabama and Auburn players. I saw a little article on Tucker Ferguson. Oh gosh, what you talking about Purdy? I don't know if there's ever been a player that looked like a football player like Tucker Ferguson. And of course, he was a great player. But all these guys have become celebrities. I mean, you take Cornelius. Nobody will ever forget who Cornelius Bennett was, or Cornelius Griffin was. All these great players, Joe Namath.
I wrote
all these, but all these just Randy Walls. I mean, we talked about him. Randy Walls was a good quarterback, but not a great quarterback. Played at Auburn, but he was a quarterback that beat Alabama on Bama punt, and his legacy will live on forever.
I wrote a column called "The Myth of the Exploited Athlete." When this movement to pay athletes, and I wrote a column basically saying, think about all the benefits that the athletes do receive that we don't talk about. The scholarship, the free meals, and on and on and on, and then the dorm, free living, free apartments. But also, I said there.
Hold on a second. Okay, go ahead.
There are intangible benefits from playing college football, and one of them is that you're a big man on campus when you play, and that's going to give you benefits the rest of your life because you play. It's going to open a ton of doors.
Just think about that.
And people don't.
A lot of former players become pharmaceutical sales reps.
Yeah,
I've seen that a lot.
What if Saban called up a business and say, "Hey, this is Nick Saban. We got a kid that we really think a lot of. Was a great player here at Alabama. He's applied for a position with your company. I sure hope you'll give him a lot of consideration." And that gets back to that guy's Coach Saban called me, and he's promoting this guy. Well, if he's good enough for Coach Saban, he is sure good enough for me.
And Coach Saban
got the job.
He'll probably do that. And Coach Bryant did it people talk about all the things Coach Bryant did for his former players that people do not know about, or even the former players might not know that behind the scenes he was trying to help them, in their lives.
Well, I also listened to a national show yesterday, and Colin Cowherd. I listened to him down here. I actually like the show, and he had DeMarcus Ware on.
Oh,
who's this, Mike?
Cowherd.
Okay, Cowherd. Okay.
Yeah, Colin Cowherd, one of the biggest. You love him because of his picks. But he's a national guy. So he had DeMarcus on yesterday, and DeMarcus was telling stories about, he had to shut it down after 12 years. And he said his last year that it would take him an hour and a half after a game just to get out of bed and take a shower and get down to the facility, for meetings and practice. And he said that physically he just couldn't do it anymore. He said when he was young, the turnaround time wasn't near as bad, but he made all that money. I think he made $30 million guaranteed on his last contract. And now he owns a gym. He's kind of like a personal trainer, like a celebrity trainer, even in Dallas, Texas. Of course, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but Cowherd was making a point, back in the day, instead of shutting it down when you're 32, 33 years old, like DeMarcus was able to because he had the money, most of those guys would have to play another 5 more years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, that's the guys, that have more of the CTE and all the physical, elements, they're dealing with the rest of their lives. And
they are.
DeMarcus just gave a great interview. I wish you could go back and hear that.
He's a class guy. I don't know if you remember this, Mike, when he was drafted. I was in Auburn doing something, maybe over there with something. My daughter, went to Auburn and was over there. And I was in a convenience store, and believe it or not, here comes DeMarcus walking into this casino, this store. I reckon it was to get a cold drink or whatever. And he saw me, and he come rushing over there like I was a movie star or something. And he said, "Mr. Amos," he said, "you were one of my all-time favorites, supporting the team." It made me feel like I was a hero or something, and all I was just a Troy fan like so many other people. But that's the way DeMarcus was. I mean, he was no different than when he was a freshman, but he had just signed a big contract. And of course, history will.
I heard Coach
probably call him the greatest player in the history of Troy football.
If you listen closely to these coaches and assistant coaches, you could hear them talk about certain players, like when they were juniors or maybe sophomores, and you would hear Coach Blakeney and even other assistant coaches say, well, this DeMarcus Ware is something.
Yeah.
And so I'd heard that. And Mike, I know, knew this probably from when he was a freshman. So I started watching him. And I mean, they played big SEC type teams when he was playing, and he dominated everybody. Yeah. And so I mean, so nobody in Troy was really surprised that he was a first round pick and became the star he did.
I'll tell you how I knew that he was really, really special. Was they would have pro day at Troy, and of course all the folks that wanted to be a pro player, they had to work out for the different teams. And they had pro day where all the pro teams were there. Well, let me just say this: he was 6'5" and weighed at that time about 245, or right at 250. He was the fastest man at that camp.
Gosh,
he ran 5'4", ran a 5'4" 7 or 8, right at 4.5.
A 4.57, not a 5.4.
Excuse me, a 4.
Dyslexic
If you ran a 5.4, you would be a free agent.
No. What he ran was 5'4".
4.57.
4.5, not 7, but 5, Mike. He ran 4.7. 4.7.
He ran fast.
He was fast.
But he was.
But I knew then that he would just say, and all the things they asked him to do, he just excelled over everybody. But for him to be the fastest guy there at that size, it was, can't miss.
Then he went to the Senior Bowl, and then more people found out about it. I remember Bill Parcells talking about him when he was coming out of college, and it's kind of surprising that when was he picked, Mike? About 12th or 15th overall?
He was 11th pick overall.
But he should have been. So why did he go that late?
No question about it.
The funny thing I always will tell my buddies, I'll never forget. We're playing Missouri, and of course, the amazing thing about beating Missouri that night was, Troy got down 14-0. I think they got down 14-0 by the time I even got to the stadium.
It was early.
What's so unique about that game, if you go back and watch it, is Fowler, Herb Street, and Corso in Troy on a Thursday night.
Where we do the games, where I've done the games for so many years, that's where they did the game.
I would love to see that. I was there, and I've never seen the TV coverage of it. I wonder if you could find that.
ESPN easily. You could pull that up on YouTube today, I'm sure. But I mean, that's how special that game was. You had the main guys for ESPN today. They did that game. I guess that was DeMarcus' senior year.
Oh, DeMarcus was on that team?
Yeah, that was 2004. That was his senior year.
I was looking at that recently.
Wasn't Ansley, the defensive coordinator at Tennessee, was he on that team?
Yeah, Ansley was on that team.
He weighed 172 pounds. Ansley, soaking wet, weighed 172 pounds. He was about 6'3".
If you watch him,
he was skinny as a rail.
He could play.
But you watch that game, and then you think back. Like I was telling some buddies, about that. I was in Tuscaloosa for an Alabama game. The next, that Saturday actually was a big game. I can't remember who Alabama was playing, but I had like a Troy sticker on my car, and I remember just going by people in Tuscaloosa, and they were like Troy, and then Johnny Williams was on Feinbaum the next day for maybe 2 hours taking calls. About Troy. It was the craziest thing ever. That's kind of when Troy, I think, finally, I know when they beat Mississippi State in 2002, but as far as statewide pride and people really rallied around the program for the first time that I ever remember.
Yeah, Mike, do you remember who the quarterbacks were and that one great wide receiver was? Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was Samples.
And was he number 5? What?
Yeah, he was number 5.
Let me tell you this.
The quarterback was a guy that transferred in from North Carolina, and his name was Aaron Leak.
That's right.
And he played the game of his life against Missouri.
That's right. And that catch that Samples made in that game was just unreal. And he was a great receiver.
The game's famous because of the big offensive linemen. That'll go down in college football history. Junior Lassant, Betterson fumbles, and Lassant picks it up and goes 60 yards and outruns all these defensive backs.
Yeah, that's right. And what it was, of course,
it was like that movie Everybody's All-American when John Goodman picks up the ball and runs it in for a touchdown.
Of course, our tailback was really good on that team too, and he's one.
Yeah, Betterson was one of the greatest tailbacks in Troy history.
Yeah, And of course, he fumbles the ball, and his own teammate, who was a guard, Lucian, picks it up and goes 65 yards for a touchdown.
And he watches himself on the big screen.
That's right, watches that with the big screen.
You can see him coming at him, and so he zigs and zags to avoid the pursuit.
And that was something. I
think about that game all the time.
Unforgettable moment. Yeah, that game was.
You know, there's been a lot of great ones. Of course, Ted Clem's kick heard around the world. A young man out of Georgiana, freshman, kicked a 50-yard field goal. Troy wins the national championship. But that play by Lucian has to go down as one of the top 2 or 3 plays in Troy history.
That's the equivalent in Troy of George Teague stripping that Miami Hurricane.
That was something, wasn't it? Yeah, exactly.
You know, the crazy thing about that play with Teague, though, is that actually there was a penalty on Alabama. So it actually went back. But if Thomas, the great wide receiver from Miami, would have scored, it would have been a touchdown.
That's right. So they would have declined
the penalty on Alabama. So Miami kept the ball. But he saved the touchdown.
You know what? It actually worked out, Michael, because what happened, Miami got the ball back and then didn't get a first down, and they punted 40 yards. Alabama took over the ball in better field position than where Teague was tackled. So
Tell me the great.
I'll never forget. Like I had a bunch of friends that went to that game. That's one of my biggest regrets in life. Is I didn't go to the '92 championship game in New Orleans.
Oh, people say
I remember hearing stories about that for years and years. Now, I went to the 2011 national championship when Alabama came back. Lost LSU 9-6 in overtime, and that was.
The great tailback on that '92 team.
Man, I always regretted not going to '92.
Boy, that was tough. The great tailback on that team was who and where was he from?
Derek Lassick from New York State.
Yeah, from New York State. Derek Lassick, who was prior to that game, was just having
he was pretty good.
You know, I mean, he was pretty good, but he wasn't what was a great back. But in that game,
he was a great back. He went by Derek Owens Lassick.
Yeah.
Well, that reminds me.
He had to kind of bide his time. He always did good as a backup, but his senior year, he rushed for over 1,000 yards, and but he did have a great game.
Didn't Jay Barker throw for like 60 yards in that game?
Maybe 30.
It was just crazy.
It really was. I tell you what, that was a tell me something else special about that team on defense. They had
Curry and Copeland.
Yeah, they had 2 of them, Copeland and.
All those guys played in the pros.
What was the other guy? Copeland and
Copeland and Curry. Curry was 6'6", about 260, and Copeland was about 6'4", about 290.
And I want to say Cornelius played on that team, Mike, but he wasn't.
No. Cornelius didn't play until '99.
He was a couple years after.
Okay, all right. So
this was '92.
Yeah.
Sam Shade was on that team.
They had a linebacker
look at the defensive back. Here's the defensive backfield: George Teague, Sam Shade, Antonio Langham. Those are 3.
You left out another great one, Tommy Johnson.
Tommy Johnson, yeah, that was it. That's the starting defensive backs right there.
And you had Willie Gaston, and then you had a local connection. He got hurt. And I remember they interviewed him during the game. He was in a bad car accident, but he was the starting middle linebacker, or not the middle linebacker, that was Oden. But Michael Rogers all Lou Byrne.
That's right. Oden was underrated, and then they had some good outside linebackers.
Very good out
of that defense was amazing.
They had Lemansky Hall. He was a great player.
Mm-hmm. That's right. But I tell you what, he was a heck of a coach too. No question about it.
Alabama was so hungry for a national championship after that dry spell. Well, you say dry spell. It was 1979 to 92. But think of all the stuff that happened in those 13 years. It was just so that there was it was like the will of the state and the Alabama nation was win this game. And I've heard from all my friends and family that went to the game that it was the most intense, loudest stadium.
I got a friend of mine that ran into trouble at Hot O'Brien's that night, and it was they're probably the biggest party night of Alabama history.
Yeah, that's where Antonio Langham signed his.
I was going to say the negative thing was that.
Now the loudest stadium ever was the Mountaintop game, the first Iron Bowl in Auburn. Nothing in the history of sports would approach that, and I was there.
Well, I tell you what.
I was there when Cody blocked the kick against Tennessee, and that was one of the loudest crowds. I've never in my life seen people hugging. Everybody around us was just covered in bourbon. I mean, everybody just threw their cups from like the upper decks I mean, it was the craziest scene ever.
That's what I remember. At the
Pippen sat on the ball. I'll never forget that. He sat on the ball and made it a 43-yard kick. He had about 45 seconds. I mean, they were just moving it up and down the field on Alabama.
Let me tell you what.
I guess he'll always regret that. He thought the guy in college would kick a 43-yarder.
Yeah. Good morning, today in L.A. How you doing?
Hey, Mike, it's Will Matthews.
How you doing, Will?
To tell you.
Yeah, what's going on?
They just announced that Dothan High will play Hoover in Hoover on August 21st to open the season.
Well, that's wonderful. Dothan High, that the team that used to be two teams is now one team.
Northview and Dothan, they combined to be Dothan High, and now they're the Wolves, I believe.
So the Wolves against
Smitty Grider's the head coach.
Right.
And they'll go up against.
Are fans allowed to be in the stadium?
I don't know that. Don't know that, but it's going to be at Hoover, and Hoover was supposed to play a team in Georgia the first game, and so was Dothan, and Georgia canceled both of them, so they decided to get together and they're going to play.
That'd be a great game. That'd be a great game. That's
they're going to against the great Josh Niblett.
That's August 21st. Is that right?
I would say Hoover is going to be a heavy favorite. Hoover minus 31.
Exactly right.
You know, they take lines on high school games in Birmingham.
I bet they do.
No, they don't, do they?
Some people would.
Oh, they do. They definitely do.
Oh, boy. Of course, that should be a good one to open up the high school.
I've heard that they take lines on Pee Wee games in South Florida, Miami Beach.
I wouldn't doubt if they didn't televise that game.
Yeah, you know, that might be picked up. You're right.
That'd be tickled. No question.
Well, what do you think about the golf tournament this weekend? They're playing the 3M. A lot of the big names are not playing.
It's in Minnesota, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not. They're not playing at Hazeltine, which is the signature course up there. They're playing somewhere else, but
well, you know, next week they go to Memphis, don't they, and play a world golf championship there.
World Golf Championship with no fans. Can you imagine that?
But you know what?
You played that course in Memphis before.
Yeah.
And my aunt's a member of that club, and she can't even go out there and watch.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
That's Southwind, isn't it?
Yes.
But you know what? Out of all the sports out there, I think I'd just as soon watch that golf on TV. You know, you can see a lot more. You know, just think of how many golf tournaments you've been to that you can't really see a lot. But see on TV, you see everything.
That's right. That's right.
Of course.
It seems like the rounds are going by a lot faster while spectators. You mentioned that earlier, that the play of golf would be quicker, and you've been right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Of course, Will Matthews, our attorney here, and of course the legalities of high school and college sports or football playing with the virus. Will. Wouldn't you think that everybody would have to sign some kind of waiver or something before every ball game?
Every player, every coach, every member of the band, everybody's going to have to sign some kind of waiver.
Yeah. And just saying that they're not responsible or that the school's not responsible.
Right.
And the network would be another one that would have to say not responsible, you know, whatever.
Yeah, if you
want. What class is Troy in?
Troy's 1A, Division 1.
Troy's 5A.
Charles Simpson is 5A. They're 5A.
Okay.
Carroll of Ozark's 5A, aren't they?
Yeah, they've gone back to 5A, I think.
Yeah. You know, I can't get into it. I don't know. The way things are now. See, they'll start practicing next week.
Monday.
Yeah, Monday. Will it be
if
Monday?
If they're playing the game August 21st, they better start practicing by August 1st.
When does August 1st drop? Does it drop on a Monday or a Tuesday?
Well, today's 23rd.
Well, it's going to be on into the week.
8 days from here, so it'll be on Friday.
Yeah. Which, well, they've been practicing, of course, and everything, but, heck...
Saturday will be August the 1st.
That's my birthday, August the 1st.
This Saturday or next Saturday week?
Next
Saturday.
Saturday week.
The next Saturday week. and all the colleges will be in town getting ready to go, and looks like we're going to do it. Will, and the Troy Athletic Directors wanted to open up this huge discussion. He's trying to get 12 games. I didn't think 12 games were a possibility, Will.
I just can't see it, but,
Michael said
They
that.
said yesterday, I was listening to some national shows, they're saying just because the Pac-12 and the Big Ten are going to play conference only, that's not correct. That they're going to have a +1 game where they can play somebody out of the league as well. So that's not been finalized. If you see, they haven't announced any of their scheduling yet. So there's going to be teams in Power Fives that are going to be able to play a game to get ready before conference, I believe.
All right, normally
I wouldn't mind seeing the SEC play 13 conference games and no more games, just 13. Just play 13.
Yeah.
Who that would be
The thing
tough.
is, with the SEC is you're going to be in a situation where if you play that schedule and then you got to play a conference championship, just like Bill has mentioned before, I mean, there's going to be so much tougher to come out of the SEC than anywhere else in the country right now. I mean, the talent across the board. I mean, the only teams that are sure wins are Vanderbilt and Arkansas. Everybody else is pretty good.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So
The only gimmies that you could probably say, yeah, that's a W, is Vanderbilt and Arkansas. Everybody else is, maybe Ole Miss, but that's not a sure thing.
I mean, Mississippi State's going to score some points under Leach. Ole Miss is going to score under Kiffin.
Kentucky's better.
Yeah, Kentucky's been to 3 or 4 straight bowl games.
They run the football.
Tennessee's getting better.
Tennessee's
Florida,
playing to win 9 or 10 games.
Auburn, LSU, Texas A&M's supposed to be real good.
It's going to be.
I mean, you could have a great team and lose 2 or 3 games and still be a great team.
Phil Steele's got Texas A&M in his top 10.
Yeah. Have you gotten Phil Steele's magazine? Is it out now?
Yeah, it's out, but it's online. You have to pick it up online.
Yeah, well, I was wondering.
So he didn't do a print edition this year?
No.
See, that's.
But his magazine outsells them all, evidently. He's got
Well, we
a lot
talked
of
about
data.
whether they would even publish these magazines. Some of them did, and I bet some of them didn't.
Of course, Street and Smith is one of the oldest of all time. They like Clemson, Ohio State, and Alabama. And if you look at the top 3 programs in the country or in college football, there's no question that it would be Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State. Wouldn't you think?
Over the last 10 years.
Yeah, just anybody else out there. I don't think their program can touch those 3 right there. Clemson.
Do you want to hear his top 25?
All right, yeah, I'd like to hear it. This is Phil
He's got
Steele.
Memphis. He's got the Memphis Tigers at 25. He's got Oklahoma State at 24. Iowa Hawkeyes at 23. Central Florida at 22. The Kentucky Wildcats at 21.
No.
Tennessee at number 20. This is surprising to me. He's got Auburn at 19.
Yeah, that is low. I mean, a little high.
I thought Auburn would be around 15 at least.
Me too.
You got the Virginia Tech Hokies at 18. Miami Hurricanes at 17. That's really hard to believe. They were like 6 and 7 last year.
What makes them so good? Who's their coach now?
He's Mario Diaz, the guy that was at Middle Tennessee for years.
Is he the head coach now?
Yeah, he was at Texas under Mac Brown as the defense coordinator. This is impressive right here. Mac Brown, he's got North Carolina ranked 16th.
Auburn's supposed to play him.
Yeah, the second game of the season.
Auburn will kill him.
Then he's got Jim Harbaugh in Michigan at 15.
That's not good.
Wisconsin at 14. Florida Gators, who I like a lot this year, at 13. Texas Longhorns at 12. USC Trojans. See, this would have helped Alabama a lot. He had USC at 11.
Yeah.
This is Phil Steele's top 25. Penn State at 10. Oregon Ducks at 9. Notre Dame Fighting Irish at 8. Georgia Bulldogs at 7. LSU at 6, which is high praise. They lost 14 guys to the draft, and they lost both of their coordinators. So I don't know how you have them that high. But this is a shocker. He's got Texas A&M at number 5.
Yeah, I had a feeling they'd be better.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma at 4, and then Alabama at number 3. and he's got Clemson number 2, Ohio State, and Justin Fields at number 1.
With that quarterback, Dustin Fields, who's a transfer from Georgia.
So he's got the usual suspects in the top 4, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the shocker is A&M. So, I mean, that's basically saying in the West, you got LSU at 6, A&M at 5, and Alabama at 3.
Yeah.
3 of the top 6 in the SEC West.
Exactly.
You talk about, you say that ain't tough. I mean, they're going to have to expand the playoff to allow these teams at the league like at the SEC to have 2 or 3 losses and still make the playoffs.
I'm going to make a suggestion right here, or not a suggestion, but I'm going to tell you something right now that's going to be the way it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
The first 4 to 5 games will be without a crowd.
Okay.
I think I don't see how they can do this thing with a crowd of folks in the stadium. But for the first 4 to 5 games, I think they'll play without a crowd. They'll have a way to do it, whatever. But and then after that, the rest of the games will be with fans.
With some fans, probably
yeah,
not all.
with some fans. But
what if you moved the start time back to September 15th and the day's the 23rd? So you're almost talking about 2 months before the season starts.
That's right. Are they going to move it back to the 15th?
The 12th.
Well, you're hearing that.
The 12th.
You're hearing that it might start on the 15th.
Well, let's see if this mask mandate does. You know, if you follow the logic, everybody wears a mask to do what? Stop the spread of the virus. If the mask stops the spread of the virus and everybody's wearing the mask, we are not going to have near as much virus spreading in 2-3 weeks.
I'll
right?
tell you something else I think is going to happen too. Is there won't be any. They'll play 10 straight games. They won't be any
open weeks.
I think. Don't you think they'll have to play all?
I don't know, man. Wear and tear and injuries, man. 10 straight. That'd be kind of brutal. I think you'd have.
But if you start it later, though, you're probably right.
Start it later.
Well, if you went into December, I mean, why does that matter? Usually, I mean, most of the bowl games won't start till the 18th and 19th of December. So if you went in an extra week.
The only folks that could
why would that matter?
Yeah, the only people that could be upset would be the NFL because we could mess up Super Bowl.
And they'll be playing after class is over, but that's fine, isn't it? I mean, well, I guess they won't. When does the semester end? Usually about a week before Christmas.
Yeah.
Where did I hear that Alabama will after Thanksgiving break will
no students? Yeah.
Be something I heard there that they would shut it down after the 15th.
Apparently, the NCAA presidents are meeting tomorrow, and that's a big deal. The college presidents are meeting with the NCAA. Actually, let me say that right, and that's going to be a big meeting tomorrow.
It's going to be a big one. So we'll.
Okay, they're on the NCAA president speaking right now on Capitol Hill, and there's a lot of senators that are totally against football, being played, and then there's a lot of senators that are all for it. So, a lot going up on.
I think they're going to yield to political correctness, and political correctness is don't play, don't put the kids at risk, which is still bizarre because there hasn't been one athlete that has died.
I guarantee you, it'll be less athletes with the virus than it will be regular students. Those students are the ones that. Is going to be a lot of virus.
My wife made a good point last night. We were watching Feinbaum, and somebody did call in and make the same point I've made several times. Has there been one athlete in high school, college, or the pros that has died of COVID? And even Feinbaum had to say, I don't think so.
Right. Well, nowadays,
but the logic is you don't play to protect the players for the safety of the players, right? There might be 1 or 2 that die if you play. Well, my wife made the point, well, why don't we just cancel football every year because there are 4 or 5 or 6 that die from playing football every year from heat stroke, from broken necks.
I guarantee it's more.
So if your logic is we're going to do this to save 3 or 4 lives, well, why didn't you cancel football decades ago? Because every football season that 7 people are going to die from football.
Yeah. And then now they say if you got O positive blood, you're a lot better shape than the folks that have.
Really?
That's true. Your blood type affects how bad it is with COVID. Yeah, that's been proven.
What that O positive's
I think O positive's really good.
Yeah, well, knock on wood.
What do you got?
Oh, positive.
Good.
I don't know. I need to call and find a doctor today. That's my
I want to
wife.
mention my good friends at Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep and Ram Trucks today, and of course my good friend Jason and his family. We're of course behind you and everything you do, and of course they've got a huge sale going on right now at Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep and Ram Trucks on the bypass right in Troy, and their doors are open full-fledged for your business.
Well, y'all have a good day.
We've been doing business the right way for 31 years, and now we've approached a year at the all-new Bill Jackson Ford. But don't take our word for it. We feel our customers express it the best.
I would recommend Bill Jackson to friends and family. Environment was just friendly.
It's a short drive from anywhere.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi